Emotional intelligence for difficult conversations. Master your mind before you open your mouth. Listen to this. Difficult conversations don't destroy relationships. Uncontrolled emotions do. Most people lose, not because of what they say, but because of how they react. If you don't control your mind, your words become weapons against yourself. This audiobook isn't about speaking better. It's about thinking clearly under pressure. Today, you'll learn to remain unshaken, even when the world pushes you to lose control, because whoever masters their emotions masters any conversation. Chapter 1. Don't react, respond. Your mind is your worst enemy in a difficult conversation. Not the other person, not their words, not their tone, your mind. Reaction is the reflection of ego. Response is the reflection of emotional intelligence. And the difference between the two defines who's in control, you or your impulse. Every time someone provokes you, you have 3 seconds to decide your fate. 3 seconds. That's all it takes to destroy a relationship, lose credibility, or earn respect. 3 seconds where the ego screams, "Answer back now," and intelligence whispers, "Calm down, think, decide." You have a choice, you always do, and in those 3 seconds that choice changes everything. The impulse that betrays you. Reacting is automatic, it's biology. Your nervous system is designed to protect you, not to reason. But the problem is, you're not fighting tigers anymore. You're fighting words, and your body doesn't know the difference. When someone challenges you, your pulse quickens, your breathing changes, your muscles tense, your brain releases adrenaline, and suddenly you're not in a conversation, you're in a war. That's where you lose. Because when you react, you don't speak from your power. You speak from your wound. And wounds don't build respect, they destroy it. You must repeat this to yourself. Not everything that provokes you deserves an immediate response. That's the key. Emotional leadership begins when you can stay still while your body demands you attack. It's not about being passive. It's about being strategic. It's not about repressing yourself. It's about mastering yourself. The 3-second lesson. Engrave this in your mind. Those 3 seconds are your invisible training. When someone throws criticism, offense, or provocation your way, count silently. 1, 2, 3. During that small window, breathe. Observe your body, feel the impulse, but don't follow it. In those 3 seconds, impulse dies and awareness is born. In those 3 seconds, you stop being an emotional prisoner and become a strategist. That's the difference between someone emotionally weak and someone emotionally strong. The weak person responds to everything. The strong person chooses when to respond. You have a choice, and choosing temporary silence is a demonstration of power, not weakness. The leader who didn't yell. Let me tell you a real story. A leader in a large company is verbally attacked in a meeting. A frustrated employee accuses him of being unfair, of not listening, of manipulating decisions. Everyone looks at the leader, waiting for him to defend himself, waiting for the clash. But the leader doesn't react. He stays still, breathes, looks the employee in the eye and says firmly, "I want to understand your point. Go on." Total silence. The tone of the room changes, the power balances, the conflict dissolves. That leader didn't win because he spoke louder. He won because he controlled himself first. His calm wasn't passivity, it was authority. And by the end of that meeting, the same employee who attacked him ended up thanking him for listening. Why? Because respect isn't imposed, it's inspired, and calm inspires respect. Training. Reprogram your impulse. You can't change your reaction if you don't recognize it. That's why your training starts with observing your body. Every time someone provokes you, ask yourself, what's happening in my body right now? Where do I feel tension? Am I breathing fast? Are my fists clenched? Observation breaks the pattern, and once you observe, you can intervene. Next time someone speaks to you with sarcasm or raises their voice, don't respond to the tone. Respond to the intention. Breathe, lower your pulse, and repeat in your mind, "Not everything that provokes me deserves an immediate response." Repeat that as a mantra, because each repetition trains your mind to pause before firing back. That's emotional intelligence, having internal control before exercising external control. Responding is not surrendering. Many believe that not reacting is weakness. But let me tell you something. Self-control isn't weakness, it's discipline. Anyone can lose their temper, few can keep it. Responding intelligently doesn't mean letting people. It means choosing when, how, and from what inner state you'll act. It means you set the pace of the conversation, not the other person. You don't need their permission to stay calm. You don't need their approval to decide when to speak. You control your time. You control your energy. You control your voice. That's the key. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering your response. Stop confusing reaction with strength. The world has sold you a lie that reacting fast is a sign of strength. It's not. Reacting fast is a sign of emotional immaturity. True strength lies in the pause, in the breath, in the mind that observes before it strikes. When you choose not to react, you're not losing. You're gaining mental space. You're forcing the other person to move on your ground, not theirs. Because when the other loses control, you decide the outcome. Emotional control is a form of silent power, and in difficult conversations, silent power always defeats desperate noise. A new definition of response. Responding isn't just answering. Responding is acting from awareness. Responding is deciding your tone, your language, your posture. Responding is thinking before speaking. Every word must have purpose. Every silence must have intention. That's emotional leadership, and that leadership begins with you. When you achieve this, you'll no longer enter conversations to win. You'll enter to understand, influence, and maintain your peace. That's the ultimate goal. Not to come out victorious, but to come out calm. Because calm is power. Remember, every difficult conversation is a test of your inner mastery. Every provocation is a chance to prove who's in charge inside you. Don't react. Respond. Breathe. Observe. Decide. 3 seconds. That's your border between chaos and clarity. Cross that border with calm, and nothing will take you off center. You've mastered the first principle, control over your reaction. Now, you're ready for the next step. Chapter 2. Your calm is your power. Most people confuse calm with weakness. They think being calm means giving in, that not reacting means surrendering. Wrong. Calm is not passivity. Calm is emotional authority. Calm is mastery. In a difficult conversation, the calmest person holds the control, not the one who yells, not the one who gets agitated, not the one who interrupts, the one who remains steady, grounded, serene. Because when everyone loses control, calm becomes power. Remember this phrase and engrave it in your mind. Whoever calms down first, wins first. That's the key. And in this chapter, you'll learn to use your calm as a strategy, not as a reaction. Calm is not passive, it's precise. Look at great leaders, those who handle crises, negotiate deals, or face crowds. None of them let themselves be dragged by the emotion of the moment. Do you know why? Because they understand that uncontrolled emotion destroys credibility. When you lose your calm, you lose respect. When you lose respect, you lose influence. And when you lose influence, you lose power. It's not about not feeling. It's about not acting from what you feel. It's not about denying your emotions. It's about governing them. Every time you choose to stay calm, you send a silent message. Nothing you say or do can pull me out of my center. That message weighs more than any argument. Your calm intimidates chaos. Your calm confuses those who seek conflict. Your calm neutralizes tension. You don't need anyone's permission to be at peace. You don't need anyone's approval to maintain composure. Your peace is yours, your territory, your inner fortress. To breathe is to master. Every time you lose your calm, your body announces it before your words do. Your breathing speeds up, your tone rises, your muscles tighten, and that's where the fall begins. But here's the secret. Calm doesn't start in the mind, it starts in the body. If you control your breathing, you control your tone. If you control your tone, you control the conversation. And if you control the conversation, you control the outcome. Practice this. Whenever you feel triggered, stop. Inhale deeply through your nose, 4 seconds. Hold the air, 2 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth, 6 seconds. Do it 3 times. That cycle interrupts the stress pattern. It tells your body, there's no danger, I'm in control. That breathing isn't a relaxation trick, it's a power tool. Each inhale centers you, each exhale clears the impulse, because whoever calms down first, wins first. Never forget it. The internal pause, your invisible shield. Most people respond too fast. They react out of impulse, not intention. But the wise practice the internal pause. That pause isn't noticeable on the outside. It seems like just a second of silence. But inside you, it's a second of strategy. That's where you think before speaking. That's where you choose your tone, your energy, your message. That's where you turn impulse into influence. You have a choice. You always do. You can speak from emotion, or you can speak from calm. And each choice brings you closer to or further from the respect you want. It's not about speaking faster. It's about speaking more consciously. It's not about answering first. It's about answering better. Each pause reminds you who's in charge. Not your anger, not your anxiety, you. Calm as a leadership strategy. People follow those who project confidence, and confidence isn't conveyed with words, it's conveyed with presence. When someone gets agitated and you remain calm, power shifts, because your calm shows the other person they have no control over you, and psychologically that disarms them. Imagine a tense meeting. Everyone's arguing, interrupting, losing focus. You stay quiet, observing, breathing. When you finally speak, your voice is firm, clear, steady. Do you know what happens? Everyone goes silent, because calm attracts attention. Noise scatters it. Your calm presence commands more respect than 1,000 words. And in that moment, leadership changes hands. The calmest person now leads the room. That's the essence of emotional power, turning calm into your secret weapon. Exercise. Master your center. Do this every day, even when there's no conflict. Because calm isn't improvised, it's trained. Create micro-pauses. Before replying to a message, making a call, or entering a meeting, take 3 breaths. Not to relax, but to center yourself. Practice physical self-control. Relax your shoulders. Slow your breathing. Your body speaks before your mouth does. Speak 20% slower. Don't rush. Those who control the rhythm control the conversation. The one who speaks slowly projects power. These small actions reprogram your nervous system. Your body learns that not every conflict requires defense, and when real tension comes, you're already prepared. You don't need to flee. You don't need to attack. You just need to stay. The strength of calm under pressure. The real test isn't meditating in silence. It's staying calm when someone challenges. Chapter 2. Your calm is your power. Most people confuse calm with weakness. They think being calm means giving in, that not reacting means surrendering. Wrong. Calm is not passivity. Calm is emotional authority. Calm is mastery. In a difficult conversation, the calmest person holds the control, not the one who yells, not the one who gets agitated, not the one who interrupts, the one who remains steady, grounded, serene. Because when everyone loses control, calm becomes power. Remember this phrase and engrave it in your mind. Whoever calms down first, wins first. That's the key. And in this chapter, you'll learn to use your calm as a strategy, not as a reaction. Calm is not passive, it's precise. Look at great leaders, those who handle crises, negotiate deals, or face crowds. None of them let themselves be dragged by the emotion of the moment. Do you know why? Because they understand that uncontrolled emotion destroys credibility. When you lose your calm, you lose respect. When you lose respect, you lose influence. And when you lose influence, you lose power. It's not about not feeling. It's about not acting from what you feel. It's not about denying your emotions. It's about governing them. Every time you choose to stay calm, you send a silent message. Nothing you say or do can pull me out of my center. That message weighs more than any argument. Your calm intimidates chaos. Your calm confuses those who seek conflict. Your calm neutralizes tension. You don't need anyone's permission to be at peace. You don't need anyone's approval to maintain composure. Your peace is yours, your territory, your inner fortress. To breathe is to master. Every time you lose your calm, your body announces it before your words do. Your breathing speeds up, your tone rises, your muscles tighten, and that's where the fall begins. But here's the secret. Calm doesn't start in the mind, it starts in the body. If you control your breathing, you control your tone. If you control your tone, you control the conversation. And if you control the conversation, you control the outcome. Practice this. Whenever you feel triggered, stop. Inhale deeply through your nose, 4 seconds. Hold the air, 2 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth, 6 seconds. Do it 3 times. That cycle interrupts the stress pattern. It tells your body, there's no danger, I'm in control. That breathing isn't a relaxation trick, it's a power tool. Each inhale centers you, each exhale clears the impulse, because whoever calms down first, wins first. Never forget it. The internal pause, your invisible shield. Most people respond too fast. They react out of impulse, not intention. But the wise practice the internal pause. That pause isn't noticeable on the outside. It seems like just a second of silence. But inside you, it's a second of strategy. That's where you think before speaking. That's where you choose your tone, your energy, your message. That's where you turn impulse into influence. You have a choice. You always do. You can speak from emotion, or you can speak from calm. And each choice brings you closer to or further from the respect you want. It's not about speaking faster, it's about speaking more consciously. It's not about answering first, it's about answering better. Each pause reminds you who's in charge. Not your anger, not your anxiety, you. Calm as a leadership strategy. People follow those who project confidence, and confidence isn't conveyed with words, it's conveyed with presence. When someone gets agitated and you remain calm, power shifts, because your calm shows the other person they have no control over you, and psychologically that disarms them. Imagine a tense meeting. Everyone's arguing, interrupting, losing focus. You stay quiet, observing, breathing. When you finally speak, your voice is firm, clear, steady. Do you know what happens? Everyone goes silent, because calm attracts attention. Noise scatters it. Your calm presence commands more respect than 1,000 words. And in that moment, leadership changes hands. The calmest person now leads the room. That's the essence of emotional power, turning calm into your secret weapon. Exercise. Master your center. Do this every day, even when there's no conflict. Because calm isn't improvised, it's trained. Create micro-pauses. Before replying to a message, making a call, or entering a meeting, take 3 breaths. Not to relax, but to center yourself. Practice physical self-control. Relax your shoulders. Slow your breathing. Your body speaks before your mouth does. Speak 20% slower. Don't rush. Those who control the rhythm control the conversation. The one who speaks slowly projects power. These small actions reprogram your nervous system. Your body learns that not every conflict requires defense, and when real tension comes, you're already prepared. You don't need to flee. You don't need to attack. You just need to stay. The strength of calm under pressure. The real test isn't meditating in silence. It's staying calm when someone challenges you. Chapter 3. The ego wants to win. Intelligence wants to understand. Listen to this. The ego wants to win. Intelligence wants to understand. And that difference changes everything. Because every time you enter a difficult conversation, you're fighting one of 2 battles. The battle of the ego or the battle for connection. And only one leaves you at peace. The ego fights to prove it's right. Intelligence acts to solve the problem. The ego seeks control. Intelligence seeks clarity. The ego shouts. Intelligence observes. You have a choice. And that choice defines the kind of person you are when things get tense. The ego's trap. Winning but losing. The ego is loud. The ego needs to have the last word. The ego doesn't listen. It just waits for its turn to talk. And every time you follow it, you lose something more valuable than an argument. You lose connection. You lose respect. You lose balance. You've been there. You argued with someone you care about. You said things you didn't mean. And even though you won the argument, you lost your peace. That's the ego, winning to lose. It leaves you empty. It leaves you tense, and it leaves you thinking, was it worth it? It's not about being right. It's about being intelligent. And intelligence isn't measured by how many words you say, but by how much peace you keep. The ego seeks power. Intelligence seeks peace. That's the key. The ego doesn't listen, it just reacts. When someone contradicts you, your mind goes into defense mode. Your body tenses, your mind starts justifying. You're not listening, you're preparing your response. And while you do that, you lose information. You lose the chance to understand what's really going on. The ego doesn't listen because it believes it already knows. But intelligence knows there's always something to learn. Remember this, listening doesn't mean agreeing, it means understanding. And understanding doesn't take power away from you, it gives you control. When you listen calmly, you're not submitting, you're strategizing, you're learning where the other person's pain is, their fear, their blind spot, and that gives you an advantage. You don't need permission to listen. You don't need approval to understand. Listening is silent power. The couple who both wanted to be right. Imagine a couple arguing. He says, "You never listen to me." She replies, "That's because you never understand me." They're both right, and yet they're both wrong, because they're defending their ego, not their relationship. Each one is trapped in their need to be validated. No one is truly listening. They're both waiting to win. But here's the hard truth. No relationship survives if both people want to win. It only survives if at least one person decides to understand. Next time you find yourself in that situation, do this. Stop, breathe, and say to yourself, "My goal is not to win. My goal is to understand." That phrase shifts your focus. It takes you out of ego and into intelligence, out of war and into resolution. It's not about humiliating, it's about moving forward. When ego takes over, the conversation becomes a battlefield. You want to expose the other person, point out their flaws, leave them speechless. But that's not communication, that's competition. And competition destroys trust. You're not there to humiliate, you're there to move forward. You're not there to gain ground, you're there to gain understanding. Every word driven by ego creates distance. Every word driven by intelligence builds bridges. It's not about giving in. It's about redefining what it means to win. Winning isn't crushing the other person. Winning is solving the problem without losing the connection. The ego seeks domination. Intelligence seeks harmony. You have a choice, and every time you choose intelligence, your life gets lighter, your relationships stronger, and your conversations more productive. The training. Master your tone, not the other person. In every tense conversation, there's a moment when you can feel your ego ignite. Your heart races, your voice rises, your tone hardens. That's the moment you must train yourself. Breathe. Slow down. Don't respond from emotion, respond from purpose. Practice this. When someone raises their tone, lower yours. When someone attacks, pause. When someone shouts, reply calmly. It's not submission, it's strategy. The ego fights for noise. Intelligence fights for clarity. Every time you stay calm, you prove that your power doesn't depend on someone else's chaos. That's real emotional strength. When the other person's ego provokes you, sometimes the ego isn't yours, it's theirs. And that's when you need even more control. Because someone else's ego will try to drag you down. They'll throw provocations, sarcasm, interruptions, and if you take the bait, you've already lost. Remember this, your job isn't to fix their ego. Your job is not to feed yours. You don't need to prove you're more mature. You just need to prove you're in control. Every provocation is an invitation to chaos. You decide whether to accept it or not. You have a choice, and when you choose not to play, you gain power. Because real power isn't in dominating others, it's in mastering yourself. The rule of conscious silence. There are moments when the other person's ego can't be contained. When that happens, stay silent, not as punishment, as protection. Silence is your best response when the other person is hijacked by their ego. Don't feed the fire with words. Let it burn itself out. Silence isn't surrender. It's strategic control. And in most cases, it's what allows tension to dissolve. Remember, it's not about showing strength. It's about preserving energy. Your energy shouldn't be spent on convincing, but on keeping your center. Chapter closure. The ego wants to win. Intelligence wants to understand. And only one lets you sleep peacefully. The ego feeds on conflict. Intelligence feeds on clarity. Next time you find yourself in a difficult conversation, ask yourself, am I trying to win or am I trying to understand? Because one leaves you empty and the other leaves you free. One destroys relationships, the other strengthens them. One comes from fear, the other from awareness. It's not about being the strongest, it's about being the wisest. And the wise don't seek to be right. They seek to be at peace. You've mastered the ego. Now, get ready for the next step. You've learned to let go of the need to win. Now, you'll learn to let go of the need to take everything personally. Chapter 4. Don't take chaos personally. Listen carefully. Most of the conflicts that destroy your peace are not personal, but you make them personal. And that's the mistake. Every time someone attacks, criticizes, or blames you, your mind does the same thing. It absorbs it, it interprets it as a threat. But it isn't. It's a projection, a reflection of the other person's inner chaos. And when you make it yours, you lose. Don't take chaos personally. That's the lesson. That's the discipline. Because what they say about you says more about them. Repeat that again and again. What they say about you says more about them. When someone shouts at you, what you're seeing isn't hatred toward you. It's accumulated frustration. It's fear disguised as aggression. It's a person who's lost control trying to regain power. You're not seeing their truth, you're seeing their imbalance. And your job isn't to fix them. Your job is to stay centered. Chaos seeks to drag you in. That's how it works. When someone explodes, their emotional energy seeks a receiver. If you react, you become their mirror. And in that moment, chaos multiplies. But if you don't take it personally, the cycle breaks. If you keep your calm, the fire burns out. How do you do that? By learning to separate tone from intention. People can speak harshly. That doesn't mean what they're saying is true. They can sound aggressive. That doesn't mean they hate you. They can appear cold. That doesn't mean they don't care. Tone belongs to their emotional state. Intention belongs to their level of awareness. Don't confuse an overflowing emotion with an objective truth. When someone reacts from pain, they're not talking about you. They're talking about their wound, and you don't have to step into it. The technique of the emotional mirror. When you feel tension rising in a conversation, do this mentally. Imagine a mirror between you and the other person. Every word that leaves their mouth bounces off that mirror. Watch how their energy returns to them. Don't catch it. Don't filter it. Just observe it. That mirror is your emotional barrier. It reminds you that what comes from them belongs to them, and you can stay clean, present, clear. That's the key. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to explain who you are. People will see only what their mind allows them to see, and you're not obligated to correct their perception. Your job isn't to convince. Your job is to stay centered. Every reaction is a lesson. Think about this. When someone loses control, they're giving you a gift. They're showing you the exact limit of their emotional mastery, and they're also showing you how much you've grown. Because if before you used to react and now you choose to observe, you've already won. If before you shouted and now you breathe, you've already grown. If before you took it personally and now you understand, you've already evolved. You have a choice. You always do. To react or to respond. To fall into the drama or hold your balance. And every choice defines who you are. A story of mastery. Let me tell you a story. A team leader walks into a meeting. Her boss criticizes her in front of everyone. He raises his voice, uses a sarcastic tone. He wants to provoke her. She could defend herself. She could strike back, but she doesn't. She breathes, listens, and calmly replies, "Thank you for the feedback. I'll review it." That's it. She doesn't feed the fire. That answer, which seems small, is enormous. Because authority isn't shown through volume. It's shown through inner mastery. And that from one simple truth. Not everything that comes at you deserves a reaction. Your value isn't proven by showing you're right. Your value is proven by showing you're in control. And whoever calms down first wins first, even if the other person never understands it. Don't carry what's not yours. Don't take chaos personally. Also means something deeper. Don't carry other people's conflicts. Don't try to save those who don't want to calm down. Don't assume their bad mood has anything to do with you. Most people don't know how to manage their energy. They don't know how to process anger, frustration, or fear, so they look for somewhere to unload it. But you're not here to be their container. You're here to be their example. When you don't take things personally, you teach. When you stay calm, you elevate. When you don't play the game, you change the dynamic. That's real emotional intelligence, not controlling others, but controlling yourself. Calm is power. Now listen, it's not about suppressing yourself. It's not about enduring in silence. It's about responding from consciousness, from maturity, from the quiet strength that comes from understanding. Because calm isn't weakness. Calm is mastery. Calm is power. And when you understand that every emotional reaction is a choice, everything changes. You stop being a victim. You become a strategist. You're no longer part of the chaos. You're the observer of the chaos. And that gives you advantage. It gives you clarity. It gives you control. So next time someone provokes you, stop. Don't respond right away. Breathe, observe, and repeat to yourself, what they say about me says more about them. Make that phrase your shield. Make that phrase your reminder. Every word you refuse to take personally makes you stronger. Every silence you choose makes you powerful. Remember, it's not about being right, it's about keeping your peace. And peace isn't negotiated, it's protected. You've learned not to take chaos personally. You've understood that people project their inner world, not yours. Now you're ready for the next level. Because mastering your reactions isn't enough. You must master your presence, and that begins with something deeper, your silent language. Chapter 5. Listen to disarm. There's something most people don't understand. Listening isn't surrender. Listening is strategy, and when you do it right, you can disarm any conflict without lifting a finger. Because when you listen without defending yourself, the other person is left unarmed. That's the key. It's not about passive silence, it's about active power. In difficult conversations, everyone wants to speak. Everyone wants to be understood. Everyone wants to win. But almost no one wants to listen, and that's why almost no one connects. Listening is not a loss. It's a move of emotional intelligence, because the one who listens first understands the terrain, and the one who understands the terrain controls the conversation. First, understand this. People don't attack because they hate you. They attack because they want to be heard. Their tone may be aggressive, their words hurtful, but behind all that, there's a need to be seen. So when you don't react, when you don't counterattack, but instead listen calmly, something happens. You disarm their ego, you break their pattern, and you create space for the conversation to change its tone. Because conflict isn't resolved with more noise, it's resolved with presence, with attention, with the courage to not need the last word. Active listening isn't about staying silent, it's about participating consciously. It's about maintaining eye contact. It's about breathing while the other speaks. It's about observing more than interpreting. When you listen actively, you're doing 3 things at once. You control your reaction, you read the emotion behind the words, you restore balance to the conversation. And that confuses the aggressor because they expected a fight, they expected you to explode, but you don't. You listen, and that disarms them. Silence is your secret weapon. Not tense silence, but conscious silence. The kind that seeks neither revenge nor approval. The kind that simply creates space. Every time someone throws a provocation at you, imagine their words as arrows. If you respond immediately, you catch them with your chest. If you remain silent, you let them pass, and they fall on their own. That moment, that single second of silence is your victory. Because while the other drowns in their emotion, you breathe in yours. And the one who breathes rules. Remember this, the one who listens dominates the emotional field. The one who shouts loses structure. Use smart questions. When someone is full of anger or frustration, don't answer with arguments. Respond with curiosity, not to please, but to guide. For example, if someone says, "You never understand me," don't answer, "Of course I do, I always try." Ask, "What part do you feel I'm not understanding?" That question changes everything. It shifts the conversation from attack to analysis. It puts out the fire. Or if someone says, "You always do the same thing," you can reply, "What exactly do you mean by the same thing?" That question forces the person to think, and when they start thinking, they stop shouting. That's the magic of intentional listening. You transform the conversation without imposing force, because you're not trying to win, you're trying to gain clarity, and clarity always conquers chaos. Listening also requires low ego. Because the ego wants to talk, it wants to justify, it wants to prove it's right, but intelligence wants to understand, and you can't understand while defending yourself. So ask yourself every time, am I listening to understand or just waiting for my turn to respond? If it's the latter, you're not really listening yet. Listening isn't about you, it's about the other person. And when you manage that, when you genuinely let the other express themselves without interruption, something changes inside both of you. The energy softens, the tension dissolves, real communication begins. A real example. Imagine you're in a meeting. A co-worker raises their voice and accuses you of not completing a task. Your body tenses, your mind wants to defend itself, but you decide to apply emotional intelligence. You breathe, you let them talk, you look them in the eyes, and when they finish, you calmly say, "I hear you. Could you explain which part you feel wasn't completed?" That phrase isn't submission, it's control. You're showing them you won't break, that you're not at war, and that if they want resolution, they'll have to lower their tone, and they will, because those who meet calm are forced to calm down. Listening to disarm isn't a tactic, it's leadership. Great leaders aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who understand the most. And to understand, you must listen with discipline. Because it's not about having the fastest answer, it's about having the most stable mind. And only the one who controls their attention can control the situation. You have a choice. You can keep reacting and wasting energy, or you can listen strategically and gain control. Every conversation is a training ground, and every conscious silence is an invisible victory. You don't need their permission to listen. You don't need the other person to change first. You only need to change yourself. Because your change forces the conversation to change. When you listen without defending yourself, you force the other person to see themselves. And that's powerful, because most people can't stand to see themselves. Most only know how to project. And when you don't give them resistance, their reflection breaks. That's what it means to disarm through listening. You don't fight emotion, you dissolve it with presence. So keep it simple. Close your mouth, open your ears, breathe. Let them speak, take nothing personally, and when your turn comes, speak from calm, not from the wound. Remember this phrase and repeat it until it's engraved in your mind. When you listen without defending yourself, the other person is left unarmed. That's your guide. That's your strategy. That's your silent advantage. You've learned to listen to disarm. You've understood that silence isn't weakness, it's power. Now it's time to go deeper, because listening alone isn't enough. You must learn to communicate from a solid emotional state, and that requires an even higher skill, speaking with aligned energy. Chapter 6. Master your physiology, or it will master you. Stop for a moment. Don't speak. Don't think. Just listen to your body. Because before you say a single word in a difficult conversation, your body has already spoken for you. Your breathing changed, your chest tightened, your jaw clenched, your tone rose without you realizing it. That's where it all began. Not in your mind, in your body. The body reacts before the mind, and if you don't master it, it will master you. That's the hard truth. That's the root of emotional self-control. Many people think emotional intelligence is knowing what to say. It's not. It's knowing what to feel before you speak. Because if your body is at war, your words become bullets, and then you wonder why the conversation exploded. Your body is your first emotional language. When you feel your pulse quicken, your breathing shorten, your neck tighten, your body is sending you a warning. You're not in control. That's the moment you need to intervene. Not afterward. Not once you've already shouted. Right then. Because what you don't regulate in your body turns into reaction in your mouth. And anything that comes out of tension always destroys something. First regulate your body, then regulate the conversation. Repeat it. First regulate your body, then regulate the conversation. The body reacts in 3 phases. 1. The microsecond of tension. 2. The internal storm. 3. The external discharge. Your job is to intervene in the first phase. That's where the power lies. That's where control is won or lost. When you detect that first physical spark, an increased heartbeat, shallow breathing, warmth in your face, don't ignore the signal. Stop. Don't react. Take a deep breath. Literally, 3 seconds of oxygen can change the entire outcome. It's not weakness. It's biological strategy. Your physiology is the foundation of your emotional intelligence. And if you don't master it, no mental technique will work. Mini exercises to take control of your body in seconds. Recalibration breathing. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 2 seconds, exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds. Do it 3 times. This rhythm tells your nervous system there's no danger. It lowers cortisol. It restores calm. Body anchoring. When you feel yourself getting agitated, focus your attention on one part of your body, your feet, for example. Feel their weight against the ground. That simple action brings you back to the present. It pulls you out of the mental storm. It reminds you, I'm here. I'm safe, I can choose. Micro-postural pause. Relax your shoulders. Loosen your jaw. Open your hands slightly. Each time you do this, your body receives the message, I'm not in attack mode. And when the body relaxes, the mind follows. It seems insignificant, it isn't. Those 2 seconds of pause can save a relationship, a negotiation, or your reputation. Your body doesn't lie. When you speak from tension, your tone changes, your face hardens, your words carry aggressive energy, and the other person feels it, even if you don't say it outright. That's why mastering your physiology is mastering your presence. Your energy arrives before your arguments. And if your body transmits threat, the other will defend themselves, no matter how kind your words sound. Conversations don't break because of what you say. They break because of how you say it. And the how begins in the body. You don't need a larger vocabulary. You need greater body awareness, because the body is the interface between emotion and action. If you learn to regulate it, everything changes. A body in chaos creates a mind in chaos, but a body in calm creates mental clarity. That's the foundation of emotional leadership. Observe the leaders you respect. They're not the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who radiate stability. You can feel their serenity, even in conflict. That's not coincidence. That's physiological training. They know the body must be anchored before they speak, that if the breath stays steady, the mind stays lucid, and lucidity is power. So next time you feel a conversation heating up, don't look for arguments. Look for air. Look for your center, because without that, everything else fails. Remember this. It's not about eliminating emotion. It's about driving the emotion, not letting it drive you. It's not about extinguishing the fire. It's about directing it. You have a choice. Let your body control you, or use your body to control the situation. That choice happens in seconds. Every breath you control is a victory. Every muscle you relax is a signal of power. Every time you choose calm before speaking, you build emotional authority. Your body also holds memory. Every time you enter conflict, your muscles record tension. Every time you choose calm, they record mastery. And over time, your body learns your emotional pattern. That's why if you always react, your body becomes addicted to chaos. But if you choose calm, your body becomes your ally. Your breath becomes your tool. Your posture becomes your shield. Your tone becomes your strategy. You don't need strength. You need regulation. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling your biology. Think of it this way. Every difficult conversation is a test of physiological self-control. It's not mind versus mind. It's body versus body. The one who regulates first dominates the interaction. That's why I repeat, first regulate your body, then regulate the conversation. That's the key. That's the difference between an emotional leader and a reactive victim. Your body can be your enemy or your instrument. You decide. So practice. Do it every day. Observe your breathing when someone contradicts you. Feel your pulse when someone interrupts you. Notice your jaw when someone criticizes you. And instead of reacting, return to the body. Breathe. Align. Wait. Because the one who masters their physiology masters the atmosphere. And the one who masters the atmosphere never loses control. You've learned to calm your body before you speak. You've understood that emotional control isn't something you think. It's something you practice. And now you're ready for the next step. Because controlling your body is only the beginning. The real challenge is mastering the energetic space between you and the other person. That invisible field where emotional authority is defined. Chapter 7. Silence also speaks. Silence is a weapon, not a sign of weakness, not surrender. It's control, it's power. Silence doesn't say, I have no answer. It says, I won't stoop to your level. Silence doesn't run away. Silence dominates. And in a world where everyone wants to shout louder, the one who knows how to stay silent becomes an invisible giant. You have a choice. You always do. You can react or you can respond. You can blurt out the first word that fuels your ego, or you can bite your tongue and let the other person wear themselves out. That's the key. Silence is not passivity. It's strategy. Most people don't understand this. They think staying silent means losing. But listen, only the insecure feel the need to fill the void with noise. Only those afraid of not being heard try to impose themselves with words. The one who masters their silence doesn't need to prove anything. They've already won from within. When you learn to stay silent, you're not giving up. You're reprogramming yourself. You're training your mind to observe instead of react. You're teaching your body not to act from anger, but from intention. Because silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. Mental presence, emotional presence, power presence. Listen to this. Silence disrupts chaos more than any argument ever could. You can test it. The next time someone attacks you with words, don't answer. Look at them. Breathe. Don't move a muscle. Watch how their energy deflates when they meet no resistance. Conflict feeds on fuel. If you don't feed the fire, it dies. You don't need to have the last word. You don't need to prove you're right. That's ego. And ego enslaves you. Silence, on the other hand, sets you free. It gives you time. It gives you perspective. It gives you the upper hand. Look at how great leaders operate. They don't speak more than necessary. They don't explain every decision. They don't justify every move. They observe, listen, process, and when they finally speak, every word carries weight. That's the power of silence, not quantity, quality, not noise, impact. You must understand this. Your energy isn't measured by what you say, but by what you choose not to say. Every uncontrolled word you release drains your strength. Every silence you hold with calmness restores it. So don't rush to fill the space. Learn to sustain it. Yes, silence is uncomfortable. Silence reveals. Silence forces others to face their own noise. That's why many can't stand it. They need to talk to avoid hearing their own minds. But you're not here to be like them. You're here to master yourself, to lead yourself, to rule yourself. And self-mastery begins with learning to stay silent when everything in you wants to scream. Make it practical. Train it. The next time you feel the impulse to respond to an attack, stop. Take 3 breaths. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Let your blood cool down. And if it's still hard, use this phrase as your mental anchor. Silence interrupts chaos. Repeat it. Write it. Engrave it in your mind. Because in the middle of conflict, you'll forget everything you know except what you've trained. Do you know what silence does? It makes others reveal their true intentions. When there's no resistance, they show who they really are. Aggression without an echo becomes awkward. It disarms itself. When you stay centered, chaos loses form. Because silence doesn't just protect your energy, it exposes theirs. Think of the best negotiators in the world. They know when to speak and when to stay still. Silence creates pressure. It creates doubt. The other person starts filling that space with information, excuses, insecurity. The one who controls silence controls the conversation, without saying a single word. That's the level you're aiming for. You don't need anyone's permission to be silent. You don't need anyone's approval to stay calm. Silence asks for nothing. It simply exists. And in that existence lies a power most will never understand, because mastering silence requires mastering the ego, and that few ever achieve. Remember this, it's not about fear, it's about discipline. It's not about avoiding, it's about choosing the right moment to act. Silence doesn't erase your voice, it amplifies it. It makes it sharp, lethal. Every word that comes after silence carries a force that cuts through the air. That's why the one who knows how to stay silent also knows when to speak. And when they speak, the world listens. You have a choice, every single day. You can react like everyone else or respond like a leader. You can be dragged by emotion or turn silence into your shield. The difference between chaos and control lies in one act. Choosing not to speak when it's not the time. That's not weakness, that's emotional mastery. And emotional mastery is trained minute by minute, conversation by conversation. So today, start that training. Apply the power of silence in discussions, meetings, conflicts, or social media. Don't give unnecessary explanations. Don't react on impulse. When everyone talks, observe. When everyone shouts, listen. When they provoke you, smile. And when your moment comes, speak with clarity, not with noise. Speak with purpose, not with rage. Silence also speaks. It speaks of control. It speaks of mastery. It speaks of wisdom. Silence is the language of the strong. And once you learn to speak it, you'll never need to convince anyone again. Your mere presence will say everything that needs to be said. You've learned to listen without reacting. You've learned to use silence as both weapon and shield. Now you're ready for the next level, the invisible language of self-respect. Chapter 8. Set boundaries without guilt. Saying no doesn't make you cruel, it makes you clear. And in a world that glorifies pleasing others, clarity is power. Because the one without boundaries has no direction, and the one without direction ends up serving everyone else's plans. You have a choice. You always do. You can keep saying yes to avoid discomfort, or you can start saying no to avoid betraying yourself. That's the key. It's not about selfishness. It's about self-respect. It's not about closing doors, it's about stopping the open windows where your energy leaks out. Listen, boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. Boundaries don't push away the right people, they filter them. Those who leave when you set a boundary were never truly with you. They were with the version of you that pleased them, and when that version disappears, so do they. That's okay. Be grateful for their departure. Everyone who walks away when you start respecting yourself creates space for someone who can handle your authenticity. Let's be clear, setting boundaries isn't an emotional act. It's a strategic one. Because those who don't know how to set boundaries end up exhausted, frustrated, resentful, and resentment is the bill you pay for not speaking up when you should have. The body feels it, the mind repeats it, the energy gets polluted, all out of fear of seeming mean. But hear this. You don't need anyone's permission to protect your peace. Setting boundaries is a language, the language of self-worth, and that language is learned through practice. Every time you say, I can't right now, that's not my responsibility, this isn't for me, you're teaching others how to treat you. Your energy teaches, and if you don't teach respect, people will improvise with you. A real example, at work someone asks for a small favor. You agree, then another, and another. Soon that small favor becomes your new obligation, and you're carrying a weight that doesn't belong to you. Whose fault is that? Not theirs, yours, for not setting a boundary from the start. Because in life, people will test your limits until they meet resistance. And if there's none, they'll keep advancing. Not out of malice, but out of habit. That's human nature, to occupy the space left open. So if you don't set boundaries, you'll be invaded. If you don't say this far and no more, you'll be drained. You must understand this. No is a sacred word, and like any powerful tool, it must be used consciously. A no doesn't have to be aggressive. You don't have to shout it. You can say it calmly, firmly, respectfully. Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't do that. That's not my responsibility. I'd rather not participate. Short, clear, without justification. Because every justification is a crack someone will try to slip through. Don't over-explain. Don't excuse your decisions. It's not about convincing. It's about holding your ground. Here's the truth that changes everything. When you set boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself. You're teaching others. You're showing them what self-respect looks like, and you're silently giving them permission to do the same. Because people don't learn through advice. They learn through example. Your clarity inspires clarity. Your firmness creates order. Your self-respect generates respect from others. Listen, the price of not setting boundaries is losing yourself. You lose your time, your energy, your identity. And the worst part, they won't even thank you for it. Because when you give more than you can, you don't create admiration. You create dependency. And dependency doesn't build healthy relationships. It builds invisible chains. Want to be free? Learn to say no. Want peace? Learn not to justify yourself. Want respect? Learn to walk away without explaining. Don't confuse empathy with self-abandonment. Don't confuse helping with solving other people's lives. Don't confuse kindness with servitude. Being good doesn't mean being available to everyone. Being good means acting from your center, not from guilt. And guilt is a trap, an emotional trap that makes you believe taking care of yourself hurts others. False. Caring for yourself doesn't harm, it teaches. When you prioritize yourself, you raise the standard of what you allow, and that also raises the quality of your relationships. Repeat this. Boundaries don't push the right people away, they filter them. That phrase is your reminder, every time you doubt, every time you feel guilty for saying no, every time someone makes you feel difficult for having clarity. Repeat it, because those who love you respect you, and those who manipulate you guilt you. Here's something else you'll learn. Boundaries aren't announced, they're upheld. You don't need to make speeches about them, you just need to apply them. If you say, I don't reply to messages after a certain hour, keep it. If you decide, I don't argue when disrespected, stand by it. Your actions will speak louder than any words. A boundary isn't what you say, it's what you allow. And when you start living this way, something beautiful happens. Your environment reorganizes itself. Those who used you disappear. Those who respect you remain. Those who value you flourish. And you finally breathe. You breathe light. because you're no longer carrying everyone else's weight, only your own. And that, trust me, is the only one that truly belongs to you. You don't need anyone's permission to protect yourself. You don't need to feel guilty for resting. You don't need to justify your decisions to anyone. You only need one rule. If something drains you more than it nourishes you, that's where you set a boundary. Simple, direct, without guilt. You have a choice. You can keep being a victim of your own concessions, or you can become the guardian of your energy. A boundary isn't a barrier. It's a door you control. You decide who enters. You decide how long they stay. You decide when it's time to close it. That's real control. Not over others, but over yourself. So today, stop asking for permission to set boundaries. Stop feeling guilty for protecting yourself. Stop explaining yourself and start acting. Because respect isn't demanded, it's inspired. And it's inspired through coherence, by saying what you think, doing what you say, and standing by what you decide. Boundaries don't push the right people away. They filter them. Engrave it. Repeat it. Live it. Because the day you stop fearing no, you'll discover the true power of yes, the one you give to your peace, your time, and your purpose. You already know how to protect your energy. Now it's time to strengthen it. Because setting boundaries means nothing if your inner world is still at war. Chapter 9. Learn to diffuse criticism. Not every judgment deserves your energy. Listen carefully to that sentence. Etch it in your mind, because if you forget it, you'll live at the mercy of others' opinions. And when you live like that, you lose your freedom. You lose your center. You lose the most important voice, your own. Criticism is inevitable. Whatever you do, someone will have something to say. If you speak, they'll judge you. If you stay silent, they'll judge you too. If you move forward, you'll make people uncomfortable. If you stop, you'll disappoint them. So what's the solution? Not to eliminate criticism, but to learn how to diffuse it. That's the key. Because criticism only hurts you if you give it access. It's not about becoming made of stone. It's about developing a mind that filters, a mind that distinguishes between useful feedback and emotional opinion in disguise, a mind that knows when to listen and when to let go. You have a choice. You can spend your energy defending yourself, explaining yourself, justifying yourself, or you can use that energy to keep building. You don't need anyone's permission to move forward, and even less their approval. Let's be clear, not all criticism is the same. Some come from observation, others come from ego, some aim to help you, others aim to sink you, and your job is not to react, it's to classify. First ask yourself, does this criticism come from someone who's done more than me, or just talks more than me? Because if they haven't been in the arena, their opinion doesn't carry the same weight. It's easy to criticize from the stands. It's easy to point fingers at the one who dares, who tries, who fails and keeps going. But the one who creates, builds, risks, knows that criticism is a waste of time. The ones who truly know, correct without humiliating, guide without hurting, teach without attacking. Don't get it twisted. Constructive criticism and destructive criticism don't sound the same. One makes you think, the other makes you doubt. One pushes you forward, the other drains you. One focuses on the action, the other targets your identity. Learn to tell the difference, because your peace of mind depends on it. A clear example, imagine a colleague tells you you could improve your communication in meetings. That's feedback. It doesn't attack you. It points out an area for growth. But if they say, you always talk too much, you're unbearable, that's not meant to help you. That's meant to diminish you. And that's where your power comes in, not to react, but to respond consciously. Remember, this isn't about pride, it's about internal control. Because if you respond from your wound, you hand over control of your emotions. But if you respond from calm, you keep your authority. And emotional authority is the foundation of all conversational intelligence. You have to understand something. Every criticism is a mirror, but not every mirror reflects truth. Some are broken, and if you stare into them too long, you end up distorted. That's why, before absorbing any judgment, ask 3 simple questions. Who's saying it? From where are they saying it? And what do they want with it? If the person speaks from ego, frustration, or envy, you don't need to process it. Not every judgment deserves your energy. But if it comes from someone who respects you, who's shown maturity, who genuinely wants to see you grow, then listen, even if it stings. because discomfort can be growth in disguise. That's the difference between an attack and a lesson. Here's a hard truth. Criticism hurts most when it touches an unresolved insecurity. If someone says something you don't believe about yourself, you brush it off easily. But if they hit a nerve you haven't healed, you react. That's why criticism reveals less about who's speaking and more about what you still need to work on. Every strong reaction is a reflection of a wound, and once you see it that way, criticism stops being a threat and becomes a tool. So what should you do when criticism comes? First, breathe. Don't respond in the first 3 seconds. The ego always wants to answer first, but you're not here to react. You're here to master yourself. Take a breath. Release the tension in your body. Observe the tone, the words, the intent. Then choose. You always have a choice, to defend or to learn. That's the difference between those who mature and those who repeat patterns. It's not about enduring. It's about not absorbing. Listening is one thing. Carrying is another. When you listen without filtering, you fill yourself with emotional garbage. When you listen with discernment, you turn every criticism into useful information. The difference lies in your filter, and that filter is called emotional intelligence. Let me tell you something few people accept. Your energy is more valuable than your reputation. Because reputation lives in others' minds, but energy lives in you. And as long as you're alive, you'll need it to build, to lead, to love, to move forward. So stop giving it away to anyone with an opinion. Not every judgment deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your attention. Look at the great leaders, the real ones. They don't waste time defending themselves. They don't stop to answer every comment. They know attention is the most powerful currency, and they choose to invest it, not spend it. They understand that every time you respond to noise, you abandon your purpose. And no one builds greatness from reaction. Repeat this. It's not about silencing everyone. It's about not losing yourself among their voices. That's the discipline. Not fighting every critic, but staying firm in your center. Because when you know who you are, you no longer need to convince anyone. When your identity doesn't depend on applause, judgment stops being a threat. And when your peace matters more than your image, you are finally free. In real life, apply this. When someone criticizes you, listen with a relaxed body. Don't cross your arms. Don't change your tone. Don't raise your voice. Breathe. Thank them if there's value. Ignore it if there's poison. And move on. Don't stay to justify yourself, because while you explain, the other feels important and you make yourself small. You don't need their permission to be at peace. Remember, others' judgment doesn't define you. Your reaction does. Every time you choose calm, you gain power. Every time you refuse to defend yourself against provocation, you grow. Every time you filter criticism without absorbing it, you strengthen your center. And that inner stability is true emotional strength. So next time someone attacks you, smile with serenity. Not because you agree, but because you now know what they haven't learned yet. That their judgment says more about them than about you. That's the difference between living from ego and living from intelligence, and that's the foundation of emotional mastery. Not every judgment deserves your energy. Let that phrase guide you, because while others argue, you evolve. While others criticize, you move forward. While others vent their frustration, you stay focused. You have a choice. You can spend your life defending yourself from the noise, or you can use that same noise as background music to build something higher. Choose the second. That's discipline. That's freedom. That's emotional intelligence in action. You've learned to diffuse criticism. Now it's time to rise to a higher level. Chapter 10. Your reaction defines your reality. It all ends here. Everything you've learned so far converges in this lesson, because at the end of the day you don't control what others say, do, or feel. You don't control external circumstances, but you always control your reaction. That is your final line of defense. That is your true authority. Your reaction defines your reality. Engrave it. Repeat it. Live it. You have a choice. You always do. You can react from impulse, from anger, from unregulated emotion. Or you can respond from intelligence, calm, and discipline. That's the key. It's not about being perfect. It's about deciding consciously. It's not about eliminating emotion. It's about channeling it. It's not about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. Look at the leaders who truly inspire. They don't react to every provocation. They don't let public opinion dictate their peace. They choose their response. Every time they do, they turn conflict into opportunity. Every time they do, they turn tension into respect. Every time they do, they turn challenge into authority. You must understand this. Your response builds your environment, and your environment reflects your inner state. Think of a parent facing a child who challenges them. The first impulse is to react with anger, to yell, punish, impose. That destroys, that distances, that teaches fear. But the parent who breathes, calms down, listens, and speaks from their center teaches respect. They transform the situation. They don't ignore the conflict. They resolve it. That's the difference between reaction and response. That's the difference between repeating patterns and breaking cycles. Repeat with me. Your response builds or destroys. Decide who's in charge, you or your impulse. Say it out loud. Make it your mantra. Because until you internalize it, you'll remain a hostage of your emotions. Every criticism, every attack, every provocation will have power over you. But when you choose to respond with discipline, the power shifts hands, and those hands are yours. Now let's bring this into real life. Imagine a tense work meeting. Someone confronts you harshly. Your first impulse, strike back. Breathe. Count to 3. Feel your body. Remember, regulate your body first, then regulate the conversation. When you speak from calm, your message carries weight. When you respond from haste, you only create noise. Another example, relationships. An argument heats up. Each person wants to win. The same pattern repeats, generation after generation, blame, defense, resentment. But the one who consciously chooses calm, who listens, responds clearly and without guilt, changes the dynamic. The conflict doesn't disappear, it transforms. It becomes understanding. It becomes respect. It becomes mutual growth. Your reaction has a domino effect. Every time you choose to respond from your best self, you influence others. Every time you choose to react from impulse, you drag everyone into your chaos. This isn't theory, it's practice. It's pure observation of real life. And here's the most important lesson. No one can make you lose your calm without your permission. You have a choice. You always do. It's not circumstance, it's not luck, it's not someone else's fault. It's your choice. And conscious choice takes practice. It's not improvised. Every conversation, every conflict, every difficult situation is a chance to train your response. That's discipline. That's mastery. It's not about ignoring what happens. It's about deciding how you'll handle it. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. That space is your power. That space is where emotional intelligence is born. That space is where you can turn any difficult conversation into an advantage. Let's close the circle. Remember everything you've learned in this book. Don't react, respond. Your calm is your power. The ego wants to win, intelligence wants to understand. Don't personalize chaos. Listen to disarm. Master your physiology or it will master you. Silence also speaks. Set boundaries without guilt. Learn to diffuse criticism. And finally, your reaction defines your reality. Everything converges here. Every chapter prepared you for this moment. Now you understand that the difficult conversation is not an external enemy. It's an internal opportunity. It's your mirror. It's your training ground. It's where you prove your discipline, your self-control, and your emotional intelligence. Repeat this one more time and make it your daily mantra. Your response builds or destroys. Decide who's in charge, you or your impulse. When you internalize this, nothing can throw you off balance. Nothing can pull you away from your purpose. Nothing can drain your energy. Nothing can undermine your personal authority. So do this now. When you walk out of here, when you face that next difficult conversation, remember your power. Breathe, observe, decide. You have a choice. You always do. That is the freedom no one can take away from you. That is the mastery that changes lives. Your reaction defines your reality. No more excuses, no more surrendering your power. No more living at the mercy of others. Take control, breathe, decide, and build your world from calm, clarity, and discipline. This is the end of this training. But remember, learning ends only when you stop practicing. So go out there, apply it, repeat it. Your life, your conversations, and your peace depend on it. You decide who's in charge, you or your impulse. Make sure it's you.